Let's take a look at D-box actuators and the application of them to maximize the efficiency and the feeling that you get from the actuators. Let's take a look at the MP33-4, how it's laid out, how you could use some of the things that we've learned to create your own motion platform if you'd like, or if you're looking to buy a motion platform from SimSeats, and you'll see all the benefits that you get from it. One of the big things that you're going to see with this platform is the actuators are very tight to the sim chassis because that translates more motion to the user. Looking at the overall system here, you can see all four of them spaced nice and tight to the inside of the chassis as close as possible. Another thing that's really important is the power cable routing. We're going to see more information on cable routing underneath in a minute, but the power cables, you really want them to come out to one side together. There's two power cables coming out, and we like to route them off to the right side. Taking a look again here up close to the L brackets, the mounting hardware. D-Box will provide mounting hardware for going from the bracket to the actuator. You'll need the right hardware to go from the bracket to whatever chassis that you're mounting to. Of course, it's all included with the SimSeats platform. So you can see here again the tight spacing. You see the cable routing going underneath the chassis, and there'll be some better views of that towards the end here. And basically, just a very rigid chassis is what you're looking for. Something strong that's going to translate as much of the motion and vibration as possible to the user. Now let's take a look at the user experience. You can see it here. You see down below the 1.5 inch motion that you get from the 1450i system, but it's actually quite a bit here. As Garrett's wrecking in this AI race, you see a lot of motion coming out from those actuators and translating to the driver. But again, look how close the actuators are to the simulator. You want them very tight to translate as much motion as possible to the driver. As we zoom down to the bottom of the system, that 1.5 inch may not sound like a lot, but it does translate to a lot of motion and a lot of vibration. I love this view here where we just stop for a minute and we look and see how much motion is coming out of the system as Garrett navigates around Laguna Seca in this BMW M4. That's a lot of bumps, a lot of shaking around. A lot of suspension movement is what we're trying to simulate here. Now we back up a little bit, we can see the actuators moving 1.5 inches of travel, but when you look towards the top of the sim and you look to see what Garrett is experiencing here, it's quite a bit of motion. And keep in mind, the most important thing here is that we're not simulating G-forces, we're simulating suspension movement. And that's what you're seeing as Garrett navigates the corkscrew here at Laguna Seca, and as he turns to the left, you see the chassis pitched to the right. As he steps on the brakes, you see it pitched to the front, and he turns in and it rolls back to the left. So it's all suspension movement that you're seeing, but in addition, you're seeing some of the vibration. Back to the chassis itself. Let's take a look at the bottom, the underside, and you can see the wiring. Really important to keep it nice and tight to the bottom and secured. Everything's wire tied here and very clean wiring, as you can see, to make sure that nothing gets pinched during the motion, the moving around. Another thing to note here on the bottom is you can see the use of lock nuts where the actuators are mounted. There's a lot of motion, vibration, shaking around. Just standard nuts will come loose, so we really recommend you use lock nuts to make sure that things stay tight. You can even see that for the wood base, just to make sure that things don't come loose. So as we zoom out on the motion platform, you can see the clean, nice wiring and the super rigid frame. That's really what you're going to want from your motion system, whether you buy it from us or whether you build it yourself.